The voice of sharing Durian ASEAN.
Hi, this is Arlene. Welcome to Durian ASEAN. We have here our guest for today on Blast from the Grassroots, Lena Hendry. She's the program coordinator of Pusat KOMAS. Welcome, Lena.
Hi, Arlene.
Yeah, so today we have Lena. She will be sharing with us on the topic that we will be talking about, which is about freedom. She was charged actually on due to the private screening of the documentary film No Fire Zone, The Killing Field of Sri Lanka, when it comes to what you're facing right now. Maybe you can give more description to it, what actually happened, the background of all this harassment against you.
Okay. So, I work in Pusat KOMAS, and Pusat KOMAS, one of our main programs is the Freedom Film Festival, which we show films of social issues and human rights issues to the public, and we also run the annual Human Rights Film Festival. So, beginning of last year, we were approached by the director of No Fire Zone to have a screening in Malaysia. And he wanted to have a screening in the parliament and also have a private screening to selected people. And No Fire Zone is basically a documentary on the alleged war crimes in Sri Lanka during the civil war. So he was on a campaign to push the Sri Lankan government to start an independent investigation on the alleged war crimes. So after discussing, we decided to host the screening in Malaysia. And we had the screening on the 3rd of July last year. And we had a parliamentary screening in the morning, which went on well with the attendance of about 15 member of parliaments. And at night, we had a private screening in Kuala Lumpur and Chinese Assembly Hall. Kuala Lumpur and Selangor Chinese Assembly Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And probably 40 minutes into the screening, we were raided by the censorship board from the Home Ministry, the Immigration Department and the police, who said that we were screening the film without going through censorship board. That means that the film has not been approved by censorship board, so we basically can't screen the film.
So was this the first time, this kind of situation happened, or has it been, done before towards maybe Pusat KOMAS or any other NGO?
This is the first time it has happened officially.
Mm-hmm.
We have screened different films last time. For example, Gado. It's a production by Pusat KOMAS on racism issues in Malaysia. And we have had protests or even fake bomb threats to stop the screening. But it has not been officially done. That means that enforcement agencies coming to raid the premises and asking to stop the screening.
I see. So, when you were arrested, on which law that you were arrested under?
Myself and two other KOMAS staff, the two directors of KOMAS, Anaha and Arul Prakash, we were brought to the police station. They did not mention we were arrested initially. But later on, we were told that we were arrested under the Film Censorship Act of Malaysia.
I see. And why that particular film, No Fire Zone, The Killing Fields of Sri Lanka? And it has nothing to do with Malaysia. Why are you being charged under the Malaysian law for a film that has nothing to do with Malaysia?
If you look at the law, the Film Censorship Act, and I'm being charged specifically under Section 6, it's a very wide and vague section which says that if you have a film which you have not sent to censorship board for approval, it is considered illegal. It basically says that all films are illegal unless censorship board gives his stamp and says that it is legal.
I see. So, the censorship situation in Malaysia, is it that bad?
It is bad, but probably no one knew about how bad it was because the act itself was never used for this kind of screenings before. It was predominantly used for people who sell illegal DVDs or involved in the piracy business, or pirated DVDs or cloning international films, commercial films and selling it. It's been used for those types of activities. It has never used in a sense for showing a film or screening a film, or it never been used on civil societies who actually use film as a method to raise awareness.
And the act itself, if you can read there, it is pretty vague. I mean, how do you consider, which kind of film is considered illegal or needs to be censored or banned?
Well, if you look at the act, you can't consider anything at all because there is no clear published guideline on what type of films need to be sent to censorship. If I just have to read the act, I can say Section 6 says that no person shall have in his possession or in his custody or under his control or circulate, exhibit, distribute, display, manufacture, produce, sell or hire any films unless approved by the board.
So that means if, someone wants to produce, like an innocent birthday video or, a romantic wedding video, is it still can be charged under that act?
Technically by the law, you will be charged under the act if you don't get approval from the censorship board. If you want to show it to even your friends in your house, technically. But so far, it has not been enforced. And it has not been implemented in that way.
And about the charge, about your court case, why is it only you? Why not the other two other staff?
Well, we're also trying to find out why. But I was the main program staff dealing with the screening. So they never gave us an explanation on why they did not charge the other two that was arrested together with me. They only called me up and asked me to be present in court to be charged on 19th of September last year. So we still do not know why. There was no explanation given. But we are assuming that because I was the main person in charge, they thought it would be easier to charge me than the rest of KOMAS.
Personally, do you think this is politically motivated, or do you think there's something more to this for your arrest?
Well, it'll be interesting to find out whether it's politically motivated. But personally, my opinion is yes, it is politically motivated. You would say that why in the past 10 years we have shown a lot of films. It has been from Malaysia, majority of the films. It has also been from around the world. Why this particular film? Why so much of interest that this film is not shown in Malaysia? It's basically raising awareness on an issue that is so dear. It's basically allegations of war crimes and with proof. And what we were trying to do is just play host and to show that this happened and what actions can be taken to investigate this further so the victims can get some justice. And charging me and attacking Pusat KOMAS for that, it's quite far-fetched, and what is the real reason behind it, we are not sure as well. Because as far as we know, the only person who complained about this film being screened is the Sri Lankan embassy itself.
I see. And the interesting part is, your court case aside, and also film censorship, seems like there are numerous other, book censorship and banning that is happening in this country. For example, book bannings, events being banned or being stopped, and personalities are not allowed to speak in university. So in this case, like, why there's the lack of freedom? I personally feel that it seems like authorities trying to curtail the freedom of our society. And do you think our country is getting more and more oppressed?
I don't think so. Our country is getting more oppressed. This oppression has been there for a very long time. But I think people are getting more aware of what is happening around them. And because people are starting to speak out and starting to express themselves much more and fighting these challenges of fighting the challenges of their freedom being taken away, so there is more effort and more implementation to enforce the laws to curtail this freedom. So you can say freedom is a sense of liberation, and it's a right of every citizen of Malaysia. And by using laws which is against the highest law of the country, the federal constitution, which clearly guarantees the freedom of every citizen, shows that the government is trying to be the power, trying to say that no, you have to be under our actions or our rule or our law. You cannot take more freedom for yourself unless we give it to you. So probably it looks like we are being more oppressed, but the oppression has been there for a very long time. It's just that now people are much more vocal in voicing out their dissatisfaction on the oppression that's been happening, on their right to freedom being taken away.
In Malaysia right now, do you think people are aware of their own freedom or their rights?
Yes, people are aware of their rights, but not all who are aware of their rights. There's many who is still buying into the propaganda by various the government agencies and also other organizations, and not realizing that their right is actually being suppressed. But majority of Malaysians are slowly opening their eyes to what's happening around them and are being vocal. And the clear example is Bersih. You can see the thousands of people that came out to the streets, which may not have happened 10, 15 years back, even though the same, our elections were not clean and fair for the longest of times.
And your case, I believe, is not an isolated case. But how do you address this to the public that, you know, this is not just about Pusat KOMAS and Lena Hendry. This is about, you know, Malaysian society. If we don't defend this, that means we don't really defend the very few freedom that we have.
Definitely, being charged under the censorship law has also opened up our eyes on the severeness of the law, because the law itself has not been implemented this well before, because they have not actually used it on filmmakers. Yes, they have banned few films and everything, but it was not taken further from there. And people should realize that censorship law is basically censoring your right to expression, your freedom of expression. And if this charge goes on and I get charged and they win the case, and it kind of sets precedents in the future where they will use the law much more. So now they have used it on a human rights activist. They have used it on KOMAS because we screened the film. And tomorrow they may start using it on the general public, or if they want to just screen a film in a home for their friends. And the authorities may do a raid and say, no, you can't show this film, you didn't send it to censorship. And we have had a lot of concern even from universities, and where lecturers use films in their education for education purposes. It's not a public screening, it's just for a classroom of 30 students, 40 students. But they are afraid now, and they're starting to practice self-censorship and self-regulation. They're saying that, okay, now if we screen a film, we may get into trouble with the authorities. So this is not just film censorship or it's just Pusat KOMAS. It will just widen and widen soon. You just can't screen any film. It not necessarily has to be a documentary. It can be any film, and unless the censorship board approves, which is of course totally not logical for me. Why do we need to get approval of every film from the censorship board, as though that the people watching it has no mind of their own
to
rate
true.
the film?
Yeah.
It's as though we have to be taught how to censor, or we have to be like students, that this is what you
everything
have to
is
see and this is
spoon
what
fed,
you don't have
isn't
to
it?
see.
Yeah.
Like, you see, this is what you have to watch. This is not this you can't watch. So what is, the people are not stupid or dumb. They have their own mind, and it should be up to the people.
Yeah, I mean,
to
the
rate
way
what
the way
films they are
forward
seeing.
should be always about how people should perceive. Where if they think that this is not good for them, then don't watch it. Yeah, right, isn't it?
People can always practice self-censorship. People are smart enough to know what is good, what is bad. And of course, you can have a rating system like many other countries, like the US or the European countries, where they have rating systems. And you say, okay, fine, this movie is not so suitable to be watched for children under 13 or under 18. And then it's up to the parents or even the teenagers or something to actually say, okay, fine, I won't allow my children to watch this movie, or it's up to me or up to their discretion to allow what movies to be watched.
I mean, that's true as well. But when it comes to your case, right, your court case, did you receive any international support?
Yeah, definitely. I received a lot of international support. We have people like Amnesty International, Frontline Defenders, Human Rights Watch, FIDH, and various other international organizations. They have just come and given their support. They have released statements. They have wrote letters to the AGs. They have wrote letters to the Home Ministry trying to drop the charges against me. And there's also an online petition where people can go and sign to drop the charges. And the EU is also have appointed an observer during the trial to see what's going to happen. And I've gone to meet them and talk to them and brief them about the case. So there is a lot of concern among many people on the case here.
Yeah, so you definitely want this to be an international campaign, or if not a national one.
Well, we should start a national campaign because there is a lack of awareness or knowledge on this particular law and why it should be reformed. And it may not, when people hear about censorship law, of course, they won't think it's draconian or it's bad. But we need to tell people that it is bad.
And in fact, people are so used to the norm that they don't care anymore. It's like, it's okay to release a bit of our rights and freedom.
Yeah, I think people are also very much afraid of the other part of not the film not being censored, like pornography, extreme violence. And they are afraid that this kind of elements will get into the society and influence the minds of people. But at the end of the day, like how I said, it's up to the discretion of the people. And people may think that the state has to control and have some kind of regulation on the films that are being released. But they also have to realize that they also can do self-censorship and realize, I don't want to watch this movie, it is too violent. And the state can just go by having a rating system and saying, no, this film has this kind of elements. So you decide whether you want to watch it or not. We will just tell you what's in the film.
But the thing is, right, majority of the films that are being censored are mostly films that do not contain, those kind of violence or porno. But in fact, they are either independent made films or films that are just probably not in line with the majority religion of this country. For example, the recent film Noah being banned, and Pusat KOMAS being one of the human rights body in promoting independent filmmakers. You probably know a bunch of independent films being banned in Malaysia.
Yes, because as I said earlier, there is no clear guidelines what kind of films are to be banned or what kind of films will not go through censorship. And it's up to the people who are sitting in the board to decide, I don't like this film, I better ban it. And they always use the reason of national security, or even it's against the sentiments of the nation. But who determines this? And are you going to start a riot by just watching a film, or is things so bad in Malaysia that you're afraid that films may raise the sentiments of people? Okay, and if you're looking at banned films, of course we have a lot of good independent films like Amir Muhammad's films that was banned, The Last Communist, and also Apa Khabar Orang Kampung, it was banned. And then we also have a lot of independent films that can't go into the major theatres. So these are good films that is sent to the internet or done like small screenings, private screenings, because they don't have the avenue, and unless you get the censorship board's approval, you can't go to the theatre.
And the government is also curtailing creativity, in that sense as well, and innovation. And the government keep on complaining our films are not, innovative enough or good enough. But then at the same time, they are curtailing, all these really vibrant and creative, independent filmmakers and independent films.
If you are going to give restrictions on what type of films that are to be made, then people will start to, they just want to they don't want to get into trouble, or they don't want their effort of making the film go to waste by it being banned. So they will start making films that are aligned to what is expected by the government. So this basically restricts creativity and also restricts ideas, and also prevents a lot of people from experimenting on new ideas. So this basically, of course, good films don't come out because of this, and the government can't complain that good films are not coming out because they are the cause of this in the first place.
So talking about good films, I have to highlight your upcoming event, which is called the Freedom Film Fest, which will be held soon, right? Which date would it be?
The dates are not published yet, but we have released the competition call. So just a bit of background on Freedom Film Fest. This is actually our 12th year. We are the first human rights film festival in Malaysia when we started 12 years back. And we have always been a platform for independent filmmakers or even a normal public. You don't have to be a filmmaker. As long as you have an idea that you want to showcase to people and you want to bring it up, and we give you an opportunity. And we have always had Malaysians coming up and giving proposals, and every year we choose 3 best proposals and we assist them in making the documentary. And over the years we have made a lot of films on different issues, on detention, on ISA, on sexuality issues, on indigenous issues, urban poor, land issues, and we have also given opportunity for international films to be shown in Malaysia. So people are not just watching Malaysian films but are also aware of international films. And the festival is generally at the end of the year in September. And what we are going to do now is we have released a call for the competition for Malaysian films. So the deadline is April 30th. So if you have an idea and you are a Malaysian citizen and you have an idea on freedom, the theme this year is freedom. So you can write a proposal. You can go to our website, freedomfilmfest@komas.org, and you can submit your online proposal.
So the deadline is on 30th April. It's another few days ahead, 20 days. So you have 20 days to hatch up a good idea and a good storyline to the Pusat KOMAS for the Freedom Film Fest. So talking about the Freedom Film Fest, this year's theme is freedom. Why freedom, by the way?
Well, that's what is lacking in Malaysia at the moment. I think freedom was a very apt theme, also because we're also having issues in terms of freedom. And it covers not only freedom of expression, it covers freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom to live, freedom to have proper a lot of rights, freedom to live peacefully, freedom to have your own association, freedom to assemble, and all this is currently slowly being taken away from you. And I'm sure a lot of people out there is thinking that, I should do something about this. So if you want to do something about it, write us your proposal, and we can translate that idea into a film, and you can show it to the rest of Malaysians and see how you can use your film to advocate the message of freedom better.
And the criterias, maybe you can just share some of the criterias for people who are interested to join this.
Okay, you have to be a Malaysian citizen, and the film or the storyline must be Malaysian based, and the theme is freedom, and the proposal should be either in BM or English. That's it. It's not a lot of criterias, and if you're eligible, just send us in your proposal to our website.
And it can be in Bahasa Malaysia or English.
Yes.
So that means anyone can join you. But what if they want to do it in Chinese or Tamil?
Well, the film itself can be made in different languages, and of course subtitling can be made later on. But the proposal, of course, you send it to us in either English or Bahasa Malaysia.
Okay, I think this is very interesting. And just talking about like the background of this Freedom Film Fest, I mean, it has been 12 years, is it?
Yes, 12 years.
So how does the independent filmmakers how have they evolved in terms of the movies they make and compared to now? I mean, since the beginning.
Well, I can give you a few examples. For example, Fahmi Reza, he made a film, 10 Tahun Sebelum Merdeka. It's about a historical event that happened on the People's Constitution, on creating one nation, Malaysian nation. And this history was never told in any of the history books. And that film, when it was made, it won the best film of that year, 2006. And we have used the film for education on the forgotten history of Malaysia. And of course, we have MCM Utopia Milik Siapa by Boon Kiaming. And he talks about how is it so difficult to buy a house, being a young person in this country, and how the economic is so difficult and your salary is so low. But when you come out with a lot of debt and you can't even purchase a house.
Yeah, especially for young people with, salary that can only afford for the whole month only.
And his film talks about it, and a lot of interest on the film, and he has been shown in international film festivals as well. Mm-hmm. And of course, we have Shafi, who did a film on the indigenous struggle for their land, indigenous people's struggle for their land. And Shafi is a person who have never held a camera before. He wrote the proposal for the Freedom Film Fest, and he did the documentary, and he also won the best documentary.
What movie was that? I mean, that particular movie that he made.
Yeah, and we have Shafi Driss, who did a film on the indigenous land rights, Hak Dinafikan. And Shafi is not a filmmaker, and before that, he would not even he would not have held a camera before that. But his film was so good that he won the best film that year. And after that, he has been documenting all the struggle of the indigenous people through films and using the films for advocacy in all the different villages. And of course, we have last year, then we had the film on Teo Beng Hock by Trisha Yo, and she talked about the struggle that the family is facing and not being able to have closure after that. And also she showed the inconsistencies in getting justice for the family. And these are all the films that have gone through Freedom Film Fest, and these films have been successful in going to international film festivals and showing the issues that we are facing in Malaysia to the international community. It kind of raises the awareness, because Malaysia is always known to be the pearl of Southeast Asia, saying that it's developed and it's a multiculturalist society where everybody lives in harmony. But in reality, we have our hiccups, and these are the issues that we need to highlight so that it gets much more attention. And also there is an opportunity for some kind of solution from it. Because Freedom Film Fest does not show films just for the sake of showing films.
It must have meaning to society.
Correct. And it's not just a festival that happens end of the year for a couple of days and people come, they see the film and they go back and everybody claps. It's just not that. It's more than that, using films for advocacy, for issues. And we have always stood strong to that principle. And that's why we are still going about organizing the FFF, even though it's been 12 years and we still have that support from people.
Yeah, I think this is a very, 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 I would say, incredible initiative that I hope, that Pusat KOMAS will continue to have the Freedom Film Fest. I think it's the most vibrant and honest film fest compared to other film fests that I can think of in Malaysia. And to be very frank with you, I think a lot of the Malaysians would also want to know about how can they be part of this if they are not just, if they don't have a story to tell. How can they also be part of this? Maybe as a volunteer or...
You can volunteer for Freedom Film Fest. We need a lot of volunteers, especially during the festival. And we need a lot of help in organizing the festival. It's not easy to organize the festival. And KOMAS is just 3 of us 3 or 4 of us doing the work, and as the time is nearing towards the festival, we need a lot of every year we have about 20 to 30 volunteers to help us in a lot of things, logistics, in registration, in also helping us with the editing and subtitling, a lot of things that you can do. And you can always register as a volunteer with us. If you go to our website www.komas.org, there is a form where you can register as a volunteer, and we will give you a call and contact you to help us when needed.
So your last message, why freedom is important?
Well, freedom is a guaranteed right for every citizen, and if it's taken away from you, that means it's you're not liberated, or you're not free anymore in your own country, which is not supposed to be happening. So you have to fight for your freedom, and if you don't, then it's a waste, because in the future, then let me do that again.
Go ahead.
Okay. Freedom is important to me because I think without freedom, the existence of me, it's not worthwhile, because being a citizen of a country and to have a sense of liberation, I think I would need freedom, and the ability to express myself and to speak my thoughts is important to me. That's why we need freedom.
Thank you, Lena, Hendry. Thank you for coming to Durian ASEAN, and we hope to you all the best for your court hearing, and all the best for the Freedom Film Fest.